Hi. We're continuing to look at the composers from the book A Gift of Music. This time we're looking at Claude Debussy. Now I love Debussy's music and Delius's music, which will be the next one that we will do. And although I love their music, finding out about their character as men was it made me a little sad, I suppose I'd have to say. Because these men had wonderful gifts and created gorgeous music. Among my favorite music is their music. They obviously had gifts from God, and yet they didn't recognize God. So that makes me sad, but it also makes me thank God, even if they didn't intend for that to be the reaction. It's the reaction I have when I listen to their music. So this is the story that they give about Debussy's life. First of all, he lived from 1862 to 1918. "Everything he does is wrong," said one of his teachers. But he is wrong in a talented way. I love that opening. Claude Debussy went to the Paris Conservatory and studied there for 11 contention-filled years, questioning and breaking away from all the rules of the past. One of his professors at the conservatory inquired, "What rules do you observe?" Debussy answered, "None. Only my own pleasure." "That's all very well," came the reply, "provided you're a genius." They soon began to suspect he was. Claude Debussy was born near Paris to a middle-class family. A born rebel, Debussy attended no formal school, but because he played the piano well, he came to the attention of a wealthy lady who had been a pupil of Chopin. She taught him for 3 years without pay, and so carefully that Debussy entered the Paris Conservatory in 1873, when he was 11 years old. Wow. The years at the conservatory were stormy because of his marked originality, and his youth was spent in unusual circumstances, even for talented musicians. Unexpectedly, at 18, while still living with his parents in a poor suburb of Paris and attending the conservatory in the daytime, he came under the patronage of Madame von Meck of Russia, the beloved friend of Tchaikovsky, who we spoke about before. Madame von Meck, an extremely wealthy widow, engaged Debussy to play duets with her and her children. In the long summer vacations, he traveled with the family to their palatial residences in Europe to teach the children music. Through Madame von Meck, Debussy's musical horizons suddenly widened. While they were in Venice, he met Wagner. Debussy was with the von Mecks several summers. And if you recall, Madame von Meck was an atheist. A strong atheist, I would say. Becoming accustomed to luxurious living as a youth had an unhealthy influence on Debussy. Later, he delighted in confessing his fondness for every kind of indulgence. So then, going through his life, they kind of make a little capsule of what we could see as not very, very good about Debussy's life. Debussy lived a life of extreme intemperance. One of his mistresses, Gabby of the Green Eyes, his favorite color, threatened suicide. His first wife, Lily, a dressmaker, shot herself, though not fatally. and Debussy thought of killing himself too. But instead, he divorced Lily and married Emma Bardak, the mother of his illegitimate daughter. So you get the flavor of his life from those string of words. Boy. This last marriage seemed to succeed, although Debussy was never out of financial trouble because of his gourmet tastes. Debussy has been described by a number of epithets as unsociable, amorous, cat-like, sensual, hedonistic, voluptuous, rebellious. He was supremely indifferent to the opinion of others. Debussy was not attractive looking. He had a large forehead, which gave him an unbalanced appearance. He cared little for people, preferring cats to human beings. He had a sullen, I don't care attitude toward life. Debussy thought only of himself and was incapable of making any sacrifice. A convinced atheist, he once said, "I have made a religion out of mysterious nature." So that's a little sad. Now, in describing his music, he's been described as a great painter of dreams. And yeah, there is a very dreamlike quality to his music. That's probably why I like it. Debussy never tells a story. He gives an impression. He had a passion for the sea. His father had wanted him to be a sailor, but Debussy wanted to be a painter. In La Mer, which means the sea, we hear a musical painting. Some composers are imitative followers of others and lack a unique, distinctive style, but not Debussy. He is one of the most original of all composers. The piano was Debussy's favorite instrument, and here he achieved his most sensitive speech. 3 composers have been essential to piano music: Beethoven, Chopin, and Debussy. The aim of Debussy was to liberate piano from its percussive sound. Debussy wanted the piano to sound like an instrument without hammers. Someone has remarked that in Debussy's music there is always the sound and movement of water. One learns to love the cool pastel colors of Debussy, but there is a sadness because one hears in the compositions of Debussy the adoring pantheist loving creation rather than the creator. So yes, I find his music beautiful. In reading this and learning about his background, his childhood, his youth, it made me think about the fact that we're never, there's an assumption that children are like neutral and you don't have to teach them, or at least that idea has been presented to people. Well, you shouldn't teach your children anything about religion, and let them, come to that when they're older. That is almost to say that the parents have to stop being believers during their child's childhood. How do you not?
Have to stop being parents.
Yeah. How do you not speak about what you believe and live what you believe? Yeah. Anyways, it made me realize that it is very important what you tell your children, what you teach your children, and the example you play in their life is very important. We all know the passage of scripture about train up a child. As Jehovah's Witnesses, that was one that you heard frequently. Train up a child, and then he won't stray from his belief. There's also another example of the model of parents, that they do have the responsibility to teach their children. And this responsibility is from God. In Deuteronomy 6, when God is talking to the nation of Israel, he makes it plain that his desire is that we teach our children. So the passage I'm reading is Deuteronomy 6, verses 7 to 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commands that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. It's more the way you live, that your heart speaks what you believe. And this is the way that we teach our children our faith and help them along their path. It's very important what they are learning when they're young. Don't buy this idea that you shouldn't speak to your kids about these things and let them decide when they get older.